I would like to call the regular scheduled board meeting for January the 11th, 2022 to order. I'm going to take the invocation and the pledge. If you'll stand. Dear Lord, thank you for this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to gather here this evening. Please be with us as we make these decisions that best affect our students, staff, and teachers and faculty of our school system, not only with those but our community. Please be with those that are less fortunate than ourselves. Please be with our men and women that are overseas and in service that keep us safe and afford us the opportunity to be here this evening. Please be with those that are under the weather, those that are COVID-free. Please be with our family and those that are traveling, coming back from such a wonderful game last night. And go Dogs, and we appreciate the opportunity to raise that national championship. So be with us as we make these decisions tonight, and be with all our loved ones. We ask these blessings in your precious name. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we do get started, I do want to say go Dogs, and excellent game last night. I want to extend warmest regards and congratulations to the Jurgens and your cousin and those folks, and congratulations to the family, and been a great evening. So,
Thank you. I will send that message along.
Definitely. We're proud of him, and he represents us well. The entire family does. So
Yes,
tell
he
him
does.
that on behalf of me, at least, that we appreciate everything that they have done and the stuff they've been through and the way that they've conducted themselves.
Thank you.
Definitely a Southern gentleman and a great family. So, all right. With that being said, we'll jump in.
Stevens
Oh, I'm sorry. You're exactly right. Good gracious, I forgot about that. And I did talk to them last night and congratulated them as well, and the McClendons, and we're so proud of him and the family that is actually even closer to us than the Jurgen family. So, and the Stetsons, the Bennetts, and I know they're proud. And that kid is a wonderful human being. That whole family is a wonderful human beings, and they definitely represent us tremendously. And so proud to have him as a part of our system, and can't wait for him to come back and show these other kids what it's like to move forward and be able to have that stage and to conduct himself the way he does. Saw a lot of videos on him today as well, and just the things that he says and things he does and the way that he carries himself is definitely a testament to his family and Brunswick. So please pass that forward to the McClendons as well. Hopefully they're listening, and Coach does a great job, and we appreciate him as well. So thank you, Scott. With that being said, we'll jump into Spotlight on Glynn County from Ms. Tate.
Right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
CB Greer's own Monica Harper was recently recognized at the state level for her exceptional ability to get students motivated and excited about learning, as well as providing efficient classroom transitions. Ms. Harper is here tonight to discuss some of those fun and engaging ways she interacts with her students, as shown in the latest episode of Let's Learn Georgia.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As she stated, I am Monica Harper. I am a first grade teacher at CB Greer Elementary. I've been an educator for 24 years. I've been in the Glynn County school system for 21 years. And throughout those years, I found that getting my students excited and involved, even during the times of transition, sets the pace for my classroom. And my students are energized and not only dancing and singing chants, but they're recalling information that I've taught and things that they've learned. So it stays fresh on their minds. And so I was excited when I was asked to submit a video, and they told me it would be a selection process. I submitted the video, and they liked the video and went to the next round, and they asked me to submit a brief overview of what the video was about and what was going on. I did that. And so they told us, I think in April or May, they'll let us know if it's chosen, and they chose the video. We didn't know until, I think, Ms. Yakabachi may have emailed me about a month or so ago and let me know that they made it. So now the Georgia Public Broadcasting System has incorporated my video to train other teachers and let teachers know ways that they can use transitions a little differently than the traditional way to get their kids excited about learning, involved, but still use information that we know. So that's, I think, pretty much it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna play the video.
Hi, my name is Monica Harper, and I'm a first grade teacher at C.B. Greer Elementary. I love to use songs, dances, and beats to help my transitions run smoothly. Doing so helps my students get rid of some of those wiggles and the extra energy they may have, all while helping them recall important information and prepare themselves for the next section of our day. They're up, they're moving, then they're down, and they're ready to go. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Glynn.
So thank you for the opportunity to represent Glynn County.
That's awesome. Congratulations. We appreciate it. Thank you.
And next we have Mrs. Shelley Daniel with a food and nutrition update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for Dr. Spence for asking me to come and give a quick update. I love that as a wellness activity, by the way. That the video you just saw was a great little wellness activity as well. School nutrition is facing lots of challenges and concerns with food supply issues. We have shortages, outs that we are starting to see more and more and more. It's not new, it's just something that we're definitely seeing, and so I just wanted to communicate those concerns to y'all. Number one is on our paper products. We're seeing 5-compartment trays, and the boats that we serve on are out. We are into our emergency supply that we stock at Brunswick High. We went to Sam's this week and bought white paper trays, and we've served on those at some of the schools, and we have those in stock to use going forward. I know some of the Atlanta schools have been seeing this for a while. They're actually using the white styrofoam containers that meat is served on in meat markets to serve on the students' lunches, and so we're definitely seeing issues there. And gloves are at $50 to $60 a case, so it's definitely there with that. With food, we have one food distributor, Williams Institutional Foods, and U.S. Foods used to cover this area out of Jacksonville. They're no longer servicing schools, and so what we've seen happen as of December, what we've seen happen is a lot of the schools in North Florida are now coming into Williams, the distributors in Georgia, which is kind of spreading that thin, and we're seeing more outs quicker. So that's been an issue. We got an email from Williams on Friday afternoon, which I've shared it with Ms. Miller and Dr. Spence, and basically their quote was, "We can expect it to get worse before we see improvements." Number one, turnaround times are moving from 2 weeks to 6 weeks on products. Manufacturers are decreasing the amounts of products they are producing due to labor concerns and cost. Truck drivers with CDLs are very hard to find right now, and they attached letters to their email kind of from the manufacturers confirming what they were saying is what we will see. So for us in Glynn County, what we've seen is we have food. We have food to serve, but the products that our kids like, the common things like pizza, PB&J's, yogurts are definitely out. And so pizzas that we were serving in our middle school, we're able to get the pizza from the elementary school that the elementary school is getting and serve it. But the substitutions we're seeing of poor quality. And so the things that we're getting just aren't what we asked for on our bids, and so the quality is very poor. Another thing this causes is it causes last-minute changes to our menu, so which causes frustration for our teachers and our administration. So products are supposed to come, they don't show, whether it's a driver or a shortage in products. They try to let us know. We receive our food on Wednesday, so they try to notify us that we're going to have a shortage, but that's not always happening either. So what we're trying to do is communicate that as much as possible. So they closed their email. When Williams sent the email, they said, "Having said all of this, please rest assured that we will continue to do everything in our power to keep our fill rates high as possible. Unfortunately, substitutions will be a certainty for an unforeseeable future. We appreciate your patience. This is a real struggle for all of us." When it comes to produce, we're seeing a major concern with truck deliveries, not getting our produce. Today, the produce truck broke down. Nobody was there could come and fix the produce truck. So that impacts our salads and our fresh fruits and vegetables, which impacts a nutrition person even more. You know, it's something very sad for us. We're seeing more applesauce cups on our menu, craisin packets. The reason that we're seeing those types of things is because we're just not able to get our hands on the products that we want to get. So milk, we are able to get milk. We're not seeing a big problem with milk, but we're not able to get lactate milk. So for our kids that have milk allergies, we're not able to get the milk that they need. So we're having to give them milk, water, or juice as a substitute. And so a lot of parents, that concerns those parents where they want, their kids have food allergies, but they want those the lactate milk. So, and I just wanted to add too, with the mental health concerns that we're seeing with our staff, and I know we've talked about that a lot, we're seeing a lot of shortages, staff shortages in school nutrition, a lot of sickness. We lost a staff member over the Christmas holidays suddenly, and we also had an employee, a mother that lost a son to a drive-by shooting, works in one of our cafeterias. So we're seeing a lot of impact to our staff, but the thing that seems to be bothering them the most is when their customers aren't happy. They love the kids, and so when the kids aren't getting the products that they want and they can't do anything about it, we feel like it's out of our hands. We just feel like it's very important that we communicate with the principals communicate with teachers so they can explain to the students why we might not have a product that's their favorite product. So we're just really trying to communicate that, and I think that's probably why Dr. Spence asked me to come today to share with you that, because we want to make sure that we all kind of know until it gets better, we will continue to face these issues. So communicate. School nutrition goes through an administrative review once every 5 years. This is our review month, and the 5 reviewers from the Georgia DOE will be here the week of February the 7th, and they will be visiting our focus schools, Greer Elementary, Risley Middle School, and St. Simon's Elementary. So they are very aware of the challenges we're facing, but we're excited to see what they'll say about how we're doing in our program. Any questions?
Really nothing we can do, is there? I mean, we just gotta wait, correct?
I just want to make sure y'all are getting the communication that I'm getting, because I told Dr. Spence I don't want to wait to the last minute, you know, and because it's getting more serious than what we're able to make. We went and bought $1,200 worth of trays, plates at Sam's. They don't have boats. They will only let you buy 3 cases of the boats at a time. Even Sam's won't let you purchase more than 3. But, so we bought what we could. We did 2 orders and bought, they had 7 in stock, and they let us get them.
So, how are we communicating that with the public or with our parents?
Well,
Well, we're doing that right now.
Start of it, I guess. I got you.
I didn't realize it was so bad until we had our cabinet meeting this morning and she was talking about it. By the way, the boats are the little things that, like the hot dog tray.
This is not a localized issue. I've heard it on the radio and TV. It's nationwide.
actually, I think we experienced it a little later. So the Atlanta schools have been having this issue, and I'm like, well, we're fine, you know. And we bought up several trays, and we have them, but we're into our emergency supplies. So. And we serve a lot of things in bags. If you've been in our school, we can put some of our little lunch bags, Lunch Buddy lunches in bags, and we're doing that. We've bought red and white checkered paper that we're wrapping wraps in. So things, unique ways that you can serve food items without the tray.
Is there any other options on food though? There's no other options, right? So as far as your produce, there's nowhere locally, we need to try to reach out to people that do some local produce and maybe see if there's any way to work with the system. Is that something?
We have looked in those options. The unique thing about that is we get USDA funds to buy product through a DOD process, and that is the only DOD provider in this area that lets us use those USDA funds to buy our fresh produce.
Any other questions?
So,
Well, thank you. Like I said, we just continue to do what we can do, and as you said, communicate. It's definitely concerning when the necessities or the wants are running low, and then the necessities, as in the lactate milk, that's kind of concerning.
and we want to see our quality go.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, it's impacting our quality
Right,
too.
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank your staff for what they do.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Communication.
Okay, that'll bring us down to Citizens Address the Board. Before I do that, in my lack of sleep, I don't know how I forgot, but we also need to thank and congratulate the Podlesneys, the kicker for Georgia. He did an excellent job last night, and so I apologize for that, for getting on, how we could forget that. Apologize for my voice. I was fortunate enough to be there, and so I can't hardly talk right now, but was screaming at him a pretty good bit and hollering for him while he was kicking those field goals. So congratulations to them as well. He's an excellent student and a great kid as well. And we do appreciate him representing the Golden Isles also. So congratulations to the Podlesneys. That's going to bring us down to the Citizens Address the Board portion. I do have a preamble to read. The Board of Education has adopted a policy that permits citizens under certain circumstances to address the board on a variety of topics and general concerns to the operations of our schools. We welcome visitors to the board meetings and are interested in hearing from the taxpayers and the patrons of our school system. We have a few simple rules for public comment. Each person wishing to address the board must sign this roster. Each person is limited to 5 minutes, and the public comment portion of the meeting will not exceed 30 minutes. Any citizen who has a specific complaint involving an employee must first address this issue with the superintendent, and if not resolved, then may request to speak to the board. However, certain matters involving personnel and students must be heard in a closed session. The superintendent will inform you whether your complaint is one which should refer to an executive session with the board. By signing this sheet, you are agreeing to abide by these rules. And our first member tonight is Ms. Stacy McClarty. Is she here? She's coming around, I think. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. I have been here a couple of times, so I appreciate the opportunity. My name's Stacy McClarty. I have 2 kids at St. Simon's Elementary, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the COVID framework. I saw in the Brunswick news, and it could have been fake news, who knows, but it said that you guys were considering voting on changing the framework, or kind of what the situation was going to be going forward with the masks. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is the revision of the framework. COVID has changed. The vaccines have changed, and new data continues to emerge. We're no longer in a pandemic, but in an endemic, and therefore I ask you to change the policies to coincide with the current situation. The CDC has updated their website to reflect the current COVID conditions, and your website says that this is what you use to create your policies. So I would like to mention a few of their newest findings listed at cdc.gov. And I'm not here to school anybody or anything like that. It's just I've been checking the website. I don't know if y'all have been checking the website, but here's a couple of things that their website says, and I'm quoting the website. The website states that it takes 15 minutes to be infected with COVID by an infected person if you are not wearing a mask. So that's 15 minutes. It specifically states, and I quote, it takes 20 minutes if you're wearing a cloth mask to be infected, and it takes 30 minutes if you're wearing a surgical mask, which is a disposable mask. You will be infected in 2.5 hours if you're wearing an N95 mask. A school day is a minimum of 6 hours. The CDC website also suggests using a clear plastic mask to be used for students who are learning to read, students learning a new language, people with disabilities, and people needing to see the shape of the mouth when making vowel sounds such as singing or in music. The website says not to wear a mask that is wet or dirty, or do not wear a mask if you have facial hair. It specifically says do not wear a disposable mask with gaps around the face or nose or that is wet or dirty. It says to only wear a cloth mask that is multiple layers. It states that single-layer cloth masks are ineffective. Multi-layer cloth masks should not have gaps around the nose or mouth and should not have valves or vents. The current framework simply states masks. The masks that the CDC states are ineffective are okay per your current policy. The masks that show that you will be infected in 20 minutes are okay according to your current policy. Adult-sized masks are worn by children with gaps around the nose and the mouth. Gaiters are worn, cloth masks are worn, and disposable masks. They all conform to the current framework and policy. Yet the CDC, where we're getting the advice and the information from, specifically states that these are now all deemed ineffective. Vaccines are now available to all children ages 5 and up, and they were not previously available to students this young when the framework was decided back during the summer and in August. Virtual classes are now available to all of Glynn County who may choose, and this was unavailable as well at the time that the framework was developed. The CDC has reduced the quarantine days, and most importantly, thank God, the symptoms are cold and flu-like symptoms with this new variant, and they're much less severe than before. The CDC came out with a report just yesterday stating that 75% of the deaths from COVID had 4 or more comorbidities. This is drastically different from the information that you all had back in August when you were developing your framework. I have 2 requests. Please take masks off the table. The CDC says that they work at maximum 20 minutes. If you are not going to provide each student with a new, clean, appropriately sized mask for their face every half hour, so 12 per day, they don't need to be on the table. The policy doesn't state that the teachers need to wear a clear mask for elementary school students learning. It doesn't state that if they're teaching a foreign language, they need to wear a clear mask. If we're not going to change the framework to include that every student needs an N95 mask and a new one every single day, masks need to be taken out of the framework. Secondly, if you're on the fence, I ask you to poll the parents. I receive a Title I survey all the time, a communication survey all the time, like the school asking for your input for these different things. Poll the parents, ask for their input. Not everybody can come to the meeting, not everybody will stand up at a meeting, not everybody will respond to your survey, but probably more people would answer on a computer survey than would come here and speak. So just, asking the parents, I think, would be fair. We can send out a mass survey and ask how many people would support changing the framework or changing the mask mandate. With virtual options and vaccines available, I'd like to choose school as is with no mask. Lastly, I know you all are aware that you all work for the parents, students, and teachers. We appreciate you and would also appreciate this space here being open back up and a welcoming place where people can come and speak. If the school is open and functioning normally, this space can too. So like when you're standing out there in the lobby, you can't hear. There's only space right here at the doorway for like 2 people. And even when you're standing there, you can't see anything that's happening. So if our schools are open and everybody's in there and they're sitting there in class, I think that this building could be open, or we maybe could find a space, you know, if people don't feel comfortable or whatever, where everybody can be a part and everybody can speak and hear and be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McClarty. Okay, that brings us to our next person signed up is Mr. Sean Brown.
How y'all doing?
Good evening.
I'm not here to talk about no COVID. I'm here to talk about the turf situation. And I'm asking y'all to tremendously vote seriously on this. It's something that all the levels could benefit from it, from recreation, JV, freshman, middle school, all the way to high school, even from football to soccer. As you know, like a couple of months ago, we had the situation with 2 football games back to back. And it was really damaged out there on that field. We was blessed that no one got hurt, seriously injured. So I'm asking y'all to tremendously make a good decision on this, to go ahead and turf the facilities and do what we need best for our kids. Y'all have a good day. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, next is Miss Melissa again. Good evening.
So Stacy was right that we are in an endemic. We've reached out to you guys in emails and calls and come here publicly and just shown you how masking the kids has harmed them. We've also told you about the laws and things like that. You've spoken, you've told us that your attorney advised you that you weren't breaking any laws, but you've left one thing out, that a judge decides who's guilty and not an attorney. What I found in order to not harm our school system is I followed a money trail. I found the federal government gave ESSER funds to schools under the American Rescue Plan. Georgia received over $4 million to help mitigate the financial impact of COVID, and Glynn accepted their portion. This is money that's paid for on the backs of us taxpayers and should be up to us how it's spent. Here's what was promised to the federal government, and I use the word promised, that you do in return for the money. Determine the needs of students during COVID and provide some effective strategies in supporting those needs. You promise to implement practicable prevention and mitigation policies in line with the most up-to-date guidance from the CDC. So this is where our kids were sold out, okay, statewide, every state. The CDC is not a governing entity, but you'll say the federal government is. Here's where the assignment has been misunderstood. There's a loophole for you to use to get out of this. The federal government has pretty good attorneys that know how to type up a contingency to make it look like a binding contract, but worded it so it doesn't backfire on them. There's a constitutional law they know they can't overstep. It's called the 10th Amendment, which reads, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by the states, nor prohibited by the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people, which means the federal government has limited powers which cannot encroach on local and state authority to run public school districts as they see fit. If you're waiting for that loophole, here it is. Government can't send an executive order last June, we talked about this, that states that we're no longer in a public health emergency in Georgia. So the federal government cannot supersede that or lawfully enforce these promises from you or our State Board of Education. To do so would be a constitutional violation. From what I'm seeing, the ARP was a 6-month plan that expired October 2021, and I'm hoping that there's no other dirty deals on the table for 2022. One contingency I do suggest you follow through on in that plan is additional academic, social, emotional, and mental health support from lost instructional time, which existed pre-COVID. Our middle school students only have 7 fine arts courses to choose from, but other districts have 12. Our students go off to high school with a 5th grade level of education in art, music, some no foreign language at all, and plenty of other fine arts they don't even have experience in and have to go off and choose a pathway. Some don't even choose a pathway in art or music because they've never been taught in it. I love football too, y'all, I do, but turf and SUVs don't seem so important when our classrooms are lacking so much. If you continue to mask our kids, which causes them harm and violates their civil liberties, and I hate to say this, but Glynn County residents can file a claim against your surety bonds, which you're required to have by Law 45-4-11. I have a copy of them here. They serve as a statutory obligation requiring faithful performance, fidelity, and integrity of a public official's duties to the public, and is required to qualify for office. Once a claim is made, your insurance company is now on notice of a pending lawsuit, which they will be on the hook for. The Glynn County residents can sue in both state and federal district court under Title 42, 1983 civil action for deprivation of rights under color of law, in both your official and individual capacities. We can now seek compensatory and punitive damages, and I'm sure I said that wrong, I'm sorry. After so many claims, unfortunately, you'd be no longer insurable and eventually unemployable. I don't want that. Nobody wants to have to do that. So just allow me to clarify for Glynn County residents that are listening. Our school board and superintendent are under a blanket surety bond, which carries an individual liability insurance. So if they're acting capacity as a public official and they cause wrong or harm, we the people have a recourse and can hold them accountable and do not have to wait for the next election. Their bond is available at the probate court. Go get yourself a copy to defend your kids with. Go Dogs.
Thank you. All right, that concludes the public portion. I will entertain a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Edgy.
I think we'll have to make a change to allow for personnel after executive session.
Say that again now. After, we're gonna actually not consent it. We're just approving the agenda. We're gonna go into executive session for personnel.
Okay.
So, with that being said, I got a motion on the table by Mr. Edgy. I need a second for the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Second by Ms. Givens. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll take a vote. All in favor? It's unanimous. Yeah, I meant to say also, Mr. Halsey is conferenced in on the phone as well, so he's here but on the telephone. All right, so that is unanimous. Consent agenda items, I'll go over a few and then we can debate it. Number 7, approval of the board vision and mission statements. They're the same as they've been in the past, so we were going to keep those. Approval of the December 9th, 2021 work session meeting minutes. Approval of December 14th, 2021 regular board meeting minutes. Number 10B, which is field trips. 10C, 1, which is the GUD report. Under finance, approval of the code of ethics, which is the same as it's always been. I was going to consent the approval of the middle school batting cages, which is 4. 5, approval of the cafe furnishings for Golden Isles Elementary School. And 6, the approval of the MOU Greer easement. Do we need anything on policy, Mr. Bell? So we could also add E, 10E, which is the policy committee. Any additions or deletions? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Yerrigan, seconded by Ms. Gibbons. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous as well. That will drop us down, we'll do personnel and executive session. That will drop us down to D2, which is approval of the artificial turf and athletic fields. Mr. Blackerby and Mr. Waters. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Basically, I guess it's on the screen. If we want to review it real quick, what we talked about in the work session on Thursday. Are there any questions rather than going back through the whole presentation?
I think it's worth noting the funding source.
Okay.
Because we've had some mention of, money that's being used. So that's eSplash 3, that's the eSplash that we're no longer collecting for. That has already been collected, and the majority of projects have already been completed. Altama still falls under that. I believe the auxiliary gym that's currently being constructed falls under that. But there is money in excess of what is expected to be on those projects. Mr. Blackery, is that correct?
Correct. And I think there's 7 projects that were started. This is before the auxiliary gym even started, that have some balances remaining that are completely closed out, as well as there's just a general renovation fund project in there. And I believe, we can pull up the good report and see, but I believe there's around $6 million in there. Another $1 million left in overages from the other projects, as well as there's just a program balance of another $1 million in there. So there's roughly, I think it's around 8.1 or so that's left in there. There are, some other things that we do need to work on with eSplash 3. One would be the main gym at Glynn Academy, as we finish up the auxiliary gym. Bathroom work and some lighting and some other things that need to come out of there. There's plenty in there to complete that, as well as there's some money set aside for some work in the old wood gym, which again would be probably some plumbing and some lighting work in there as well.
I think one of the things I want to point out is that money has to be spent on facilities, technology, which we're a one-to-one district now with our Chromebooks and the Promethean boards that we've placed in all the classrooms. So this money cannot be spent on personnel or curriculum or anything like that. So I just want to be clear where the money's coming from. The current eSplash that we're in, eSplash 4, that we're currently collecting for, is a pretty comprehensive list of projects that includes almost all of our schools too, renovating and modernizing. So I had asked if there was any other uses that could be considered of this eSplash 3 money, but really a lot of what we're seeing in our other facilities is being covered under eSplash 4. Would I be right to say that?
Yeah, there's project money set aside for every school facility in eSplash 4. Obviously, we're doing Golden Hours, Needwood, Oglethorpe right now. So Marshall will be the next renovation, because there's already a capital outlay application for that. The ones we're doing now are much larger in scope than for instance, what we would do when we got to a school such as Jane Macon, because there's not near the age of the facility at that time. But yes, there is money set aside for that.
Okay, thank you.
And to your point, I think we normally, a layman's terms, we prefer to the eSplash money as bricks and mortar you know, which is, a lot of people get confused, as you pointed out, to where they just think that money can be bought, you know, with books or used to purchase books and things of that nature. But unfortunately, under the guidelines of the state, you know, we have restrictions on what we can do with those funds. And most of it, again, is bricks and mortar or capital projects, which is buildings and things of that nature, technology, stuff like that. So that's a great point that you bring up to, you know, notify the public of where those funds are coming from. Any other questions for these guys?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve funding for field turf to turf the practice fields at Glynn Academy and Brunswick High and the stadium.
Second the motion.
All right, now would be a motion for approval of $3,756,278. Any more questions? Motion's on the floor by Dr. Yergin, second by Ms. Gibbons. Any discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? You're in, Mike?
I'm in favor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Lights.
So, I guess we'll jump straight into the field lights. Pull that up real quick, and then any discussions. Basically, it's the LED field practice lights for the for the practice fields at Brunswick High and Glynn Academy. Again, this is something that we went over in depth during the work session, discussing the fact that those fields do need to be lit for fall festivities. Any questions for Coach Waters or Mr. Blackburn? This is for a recommendation for Musco Sports Lighting to install these lights for the total project of $560,000.
I'll make the motion to approve the funding of $560,000.
Okay. Motion on the floor by Mr. Edgy, second by Ms. Gibbons. Any discussion? This is also, I'll point out real quick, funds coming from, collected funds from East Boss 3 as well, same as the turf. So, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous as well. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes that portion of the meeting. Does anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion going into executive session for personnel.
So I make that motion.
Did you want land also?
And land, we had land bank.
Personnel and land.
Any legal?
So I'll give that to Ms. Gibbons as far as the motion.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sams. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous at 6:43. motion to go back into open session. Motion by Ms. Gibbons,
Second.
second by Dr. Yergin. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous at 7:15. Okay, I got a topic that I want to put on the table for discussion, and that is the mask regulation, if you will. It's not a policy because we don't have it in a policy. It's a regulation that's enforced by the superintendent under our direction. As you heard tonight, we have people that, you know, are not in favor of the mask mandate. That is possible. We're not under that protocol as of right now. I know we established our numbers earlier in the school year of the 1%. We had that over 1% for 2 weeks, and then in the early fall of the semester, and then we did the mask for 2 weeks and came back off. I'm in the assumption and the thought process, opinion, if you will, that that situation was not due to the school system. It was due to the public, and I don't think that as we look at the data that we have and the things that we go by and the information that we're provided, most of the time it's not a school-related situation. It's coming, they're bringing it to the school. The school is not passing it around. The short of the long is, I am of the opinion, and I want to place a motion on the table for discussion of eliminating the possibility of the mask mandate within our school system. Even if we do go above the 1% that we have set up as the protocol in the earlier stages of the virus, I don't feel that we're in that situation anymore. I think that it should be optional. I feel that the parents and the students should be responsible and accountable for their actions and whether or not their safety is involved. If they feel that they are unsafe, then they need to, and they feel that the mask is giving them the option of not getting the virus, then by all means do that. Same as we do in the public. You don't see folks out and about, not the vast majority of the folks wearing masks in public, in the restaurants and places of that nature. So again, I feel that they should be the ones that make those decisions based on their family and what they feel. And by all means, if it makes them more comfortable wearing the mask, then I'm all for that. As I've stated before in front of you guys and privately and in open session, and in emails that I've sent to folks, I've had the virus, my kids have had the virus, my wife has had the virus. I lost my stepdad of almost 30 years to the virus. So I do respect the virus, I do respect the fact that it is real, but I still am of the opinion that the vaccine and the mask should be optional. So it is close to me and I have experienced it, but again, I feel that that's your decision, not mine. And that's where I'm at with it. So I'm gonna put that motion on the floor right now for discussion, and then we can bring it to a vote if it makes it that far. But my motion would be to eliminate the regulation of the possibility of wearing of the mask mandate for our school system.
I'll second the motion.
Second motion by Mr. Edgy to put it on the floor, and I will open it up for discussion.
Mr. Chair, if we're gonna amend the wording for the mask mandate, I would recommend we remove the word mandate and place strongly recommend when the numbers do get to the yellow or the red.
I completely agree. We can put that out there as far as when it comes to that point. If we go over the 1% mark, we can, and the things that we put out now, instead of stating that it's a mandatory mask, we can put that we are over, which we publicize our numbers every Friday, anyway, it's for the public, so the public can see, but in that publication, we will state that we strongly recommend, because we're over 1%, that you wear a mask to school, but it is optional. I've been approached by the teachers, by the administration at the schools, that it's just another problem that they have to fight, something in the classroom that they have to deal with. I've been approached by the parents. You know, I feel that way anyway. I have been approached by the other side as well. But the research that I read and things that I come up with is that, you know, the mask is not a savior for the airborne virus. So you had that stated here tonight as far as the citizens address the board portion. So anyway, I agree with that, Dr. Yergin, and we'll take notes on that. Dr. Spence, anybody else?
Yeah, of course I have to say something.
Of course, I would welcome it. Mr. McDowell?
Instead of getting into a long dissertation, I'm just going to say that I'm around it every day, and I wear a mask every day, and I never got it. That is an example of what I think it does. I also believe that the medical community would basically throw me out if I voted differently for that, mostly, because the community is still facing, the medical community is still facing a lot of it, and I think we should follow the recommendations of the CDC or the professionals who study that. I don't disagree with anything that anybody said, and I would love for opinion to be the biggest thing, but when it's something that's uncontrollable to you, I think that's where we have to step in. We've got this far, we've done very good, and you know, I will make sure that I support whatever decisions that we make, because that's what we do as a board, regardless if it's the direct decision I would make. So, following the recommendation of the CDC and the medical community, I would say we should continue what we built, because it has worked in the past. But.
And I completely understand your view on it, and don't blame you, especially if you get fired. But and we've seen that with the system, with some of the folks over there, unfortunately. But to your point, you have been wearing the mask and you haven't gotten the virus. That's why I say it should be optional, because those folks can wear the mask and not get the virus. I don't think that me wearing the mask is going to prevent you from getting the virus. And that's just my opinion. I'm no scientist or whatnot, but that's kind of where I am with it now. If it feels, like I said, that it makes you more comfortable and you feel that it keeps you from getting the virus, then again, by all means, wear it. I have no problems with that whatsoever. But that's just, again, where I'm at.
So do we have to go back and revise what we implemented in the beginning, that regulations with the colors, green, yellow, red?
We would just follow our same protocols, our same preventative measures. We would just remove the word mandate mask and put strongly recommended.
At the 1% mark.
Every time, yeah. Every time we say mandate mask, we would put strongly recommended. But everything else, all of our other measures would stay in place.
I think just to clarify, this framework, COVID framework that we've been operating under since the beginning of the school year is a operational regulation, and we are making recommendations. We don't vote on that framework. We didn't vote to approve that framework, but we have, the times we voted, have voted to make a recommendation to Dr. Spence with a suggestion for a change or so forth. So it's an operational aspect of the school, and that's not part of what our duty is on the board.
Good point.
And again, that's why I state it's not a policy, it's
Right.
just a regulation that Dr. Spence and his staff implements under our guide, or our recommendation. So it is not a policy that the school system has adopted.
I also want to say too, if we go back to late July, August of 2020, I had experienced personally through my family infection rates among children being drastically more than what they had been seeing in the spring of 2020. And that was back when the only thing people were certain of is that they didn't know really anything for sure. So we were setting ourselves up to head into a new school year, trying to maintain some in-person instruction because that's what we feel is best for our children. I think studies have shown that's what's best. And at the time, what was offered to us was that that was a protection measure. There were no vaccines in place at that point. The virus was still not very well studied. And when we were discussing masks, it was brought up, should we make it part of the dress code? Well, that made it part of a policy. And I just remember saying, you know, this is a global pandemic that the world is experiencing and nobody knows anything about it right now. But I do not want to see this being the stopgap every time something flares up. We've dealt with flu, we've dealt with strep in the school systems for years and years, and we didn't mask then. It's come down to where it's more of a personal situation. Vaccines are available for most age groups, especially in the school age, the teacher groups, and you have ways of protecting yourself and choosing how you want to do that. So where we're sitting now is different from where we were sitting back when we first began discussion of masks.
And also, vaccines not only are available, they are very available and not at any cost. So anyone who would like the vaccine, they have the option of taking it.
And that's what I think I hinged mine on, is the fact when this did first start, the vaccines weren't available, and then they became available, and slowly it's going down. I think 5 years and up can have the vaccine. So, in fact, everybody could have the vaccine if they want. At this point, they're not going to have one if they don't have one, unless something happens and they decide. So, I would support the recommendation that you're making, Chairman Mattson, for sure. So, I think it's just time to get on and get back to some sort of normalcy. And I'm not opposed to just making the statement strongly recommend, though I think it should just be an optional thing. But I would support that for sure, to strongly recommend.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. I have a second. The motion again, just so everyone's clear, is that we would remove the recommendation for mask mandates during the regulations that go out once a week, and they would become, instead of mask mandates, it would be a strongly recommend mask option.
Understand.
Got it?
Got it. Crystal.
Okay. All right. No more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 6-1.
Still got it.
Yes, sir, I will get to that. So you got what we need for here on out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, before we close, I will entertain a motion to accept the personnel report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Yergin, second by Ms. Gibbons. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, 7-0. Okay. Any other business? We entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Dr. Yergin, motion. Second by Ms. Gibbons. Any discussion?
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go
All those in
Dogs.
favor?
Aye.
Of Go
It is
Dogs.
unanimous. 7:29.
She's like, wait.